Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Meditation Mastery. I am right now sitting at Lake McClellan in Texas. We just arrived here last night from Arkansas. It's been a long few days. I've been on the road with Shannon for about a week, and we've been giving healings as we've been traveling, and we've been doing a lot of driving. And this is the first day that we decided to camp, that we took our tent and we found a nice campsite. And we sat down to really just be in nature, to let it be simple, to just relax. Something that both of us realized very quickly was that last night when we had built the camp and we had kind of sat down in the tent, is that we realized how busy we had been, how busy our minds have been, how much movement we have been going through, that actually we never even fully dropped in with the fact that our apartment in Boston is gone, that our lease is up, that we're now living on the road, that things have changed, really making that deep realization, I guess, that things have changed in a very fundamental way. And we realized that because we'd been moving so much, because we've been leading healings and teaching and just seeing all these places and all these different people, that we've been very busy and there's been a lot going on. And even in the car, you're driving, and we try to meditate in the car as well, but it's a little bit difficult with all the movement. So to really sit down and to sit in a tent and to camp right on the earth, with all the space, there's really not many people around. It really showed us how we've been and where we want to go in terms of the busyness of life, the busyness of the mind. Coming out of Boston, which is the Northeast is a very fast-paced lifestyle, very fast-paced world. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to do. Things are expensive out there. Everyone's kind of pushing and doing. And when we have free time, we'll maybe jump on our phone and scroll and read stuff. And a lot of people don't give themselves actually just time to breathe, to be, to feel, to drop in. So this morning, when I woke up, I walked around a little bit and I sat and I did my morning meditation. And I noticed that my mind was really all over the place, that it felt like it was almost out here somewhere, that it was very scattered. And one of the definitions of meditation is concentration, which is another way of saying collecting or gathering the mind together. So when we're living our daily lives, we have many different facets of our life. We have our job, right? Our career, our financial situation. We have our relationships, both to friend and maybe to a partner and also to our family, and all of the different, pieces and parts of that. We have our own physical body and our physical health as a component. We have our hobbies and interests and things that bring us joy and maybe even our purpose and mission. So we have many different facets of life, many different places that we're putting our energy, that we're working on, that our mind is active in. So even if you have a great relationship and you have a nice amount of money and everything is going well, but you don't feel a deeper sense of purpose in what you're doing, you get depressed. We see this with a lot of business people, a lot of actors and musicians and people that do drugs and also often die or commit suicide. And we say that's crazy because they have the fame, they have the money, they have everything that the rest of us are working to get. And they're standing there and saying, actually, this is not fulfilling. In fact, it's painful. And they even take their own life because it's so painful. So we see that even if a lot of the boxes are checked, and even if a lot of the boxes are checked really up high, if there's fundamental pieces that are missing, that are scattered, that aren't collected, it causes a great deal of pain. The same thing can be said if you have great friends and you feel like you're really living your purpose and things are going well, but financially you're not doing so well, then you still carry that as almost like a burden. You'll still worry. There's still that feeling that, you can't really drop in with yourself and feel at peace in a deeper way, rested way. So if we really look around at our lives, we'll see that we have many construction areas going on at once, that our mind is busy with a lot of things at the same time. And when we sit down to meditate, what generally happens is that the mind gets sucked into those different areas. It remembers the phone call you forgot to make, or, oh yeah, the grocery list, or you'll drop in with your body, right? Or you'll finally maybe drop in with your mind, but just realize how bad it's been and then go into a big story about why it's like that. Sometimes we'll just go straight into fantasies that we won't even deal with the real world, right? It's too unpleasant, it's too painful, it's so unfulfilling that we'd rather just escape into fantasies. And a lot of people, their meditations are just them daydreaming, just fantasizing. Or we've been running ourselves ragged so much that when we sit, we just want to shut off, we want to go to sleep, we don't want to have any of this. Or we're just so exhausted that we literally fall asleep. So when you start practicing this meditation and the collection of the mind, you'll start to notice how scattered you are. You'll start to notice that your energy and your mental and psychic energy is in all of these different places. And as you sit, you'll be pulled into those places almost out of habit, because that's where your mind has been going this whole time. And what you need to do is, instead of during the meditation kind of trying to physically, so to say, pull your mind back into place, don't get upset at yourself for doing it. Don't create more stories and energies around it. You really need to allow the mind to go wherever it needs to go, but you don't give it any energy. You don't follow it. Yeah, and when I say you don't follow it, I mean that if I'm sitting here and I think of the phone call that I forgot to make, I make a note of that. I say, oh yeah, I was going to call, my mom, right? Oh, I made a note of that. And then you let it go and you come back. Right? I don't sit there and think, oh, should I do it now? Should I not do it now? Oh, I'm a bad son because I forgot to call. I don't go into a whole story. I just let it go. If I'm sitting here and I remember an email that I need to write, I think, okay, I have to do that, and I let it go. Maybe I'll remember a conversation I had with somebody yesterday and I felt offended by them, right? And that comes up and I'm like, oh, I've actually been carrying this energy with me for the past couple days, right? Acknowledging that, seeing that, saying, okay, I'm going to look at that, right? Breathing into that and letting it go. That each time these different areas and aspects of our life kind of come in, we have to acknowledge it, right? We don't want to suppress it or repress it, because that's why the mind is always jumping around. But simultaneously, we don't want to feed it anymore, because we're trying to get to the center. We're trying to get back into the middle. So this one teacher, Ajahn Chah, he said that it's almost like we're the spider in the middle of the web. Yeah, and as we've been walking, when we were in Asheville, North Carolina, we went up into the forest, and there are these huge spider webs, right? And there are these big, fat spiders sitting in the middle of the webs with all these bugs around. And he said we're like the spider, that you sit in the middle of the web, and you feel something hit the web, you feel something resonating in the web, and the spider goes over and investigates it, and then it comes back to the middle. And it goes over and investigates, and it comes back to the middle. That each time something else arises in the mind, each time there's something else that comes in, our mind goes to it, it investigates it, it sees it, and then it goes back to the middle. In our daily life, we don't come back to the middle. We often go to that place and we stay there. We keep thinking and worrying and stressing and obsessing about different areas. This is why we have trouble creating a collected, focused, stable, unified mind, is because we're very, very busy in these little areas, all these different fragments of our life, right? The scattering. So when we're meditating, we'll notice that the mind goes into one area and we acknowledge it, and we allow the mind then just to come right back to the middle. You don't have to force, again, you don't have to push your mind to get back here. All you have to do is acknowledge that your mind is over there and your practice is right here. Yeah, that by letting go of whatever arises, you'll naturally come right back. Yeah, it's almost effortless. The second that you realize that you're lost in thoughts, right? I'm lost in a fantasy. The second that I realize I'm lost in a fantasy, that realization means that I've already come back from that fantasy. Do you see what I mean? The second you realize you've been lost in thought, it means that you're already back from that thought, right? So you're already back, so there's actually nothing to do. That thought's already gone. You're just realizing, you're just remembering the present moment. And just by remembering the present moment, you're already back in the meditation. You're back in the middle. You're centered again. And that's really all that it takes. That's all that you need to do. So this practice also involves building up momentum. This practice involves a karmic flow, I'll call that. Because the more that you're able just to let go, each time something new arises, each time the mind is pulled into a different area, each time the mind gets scattered, by simply letting go, by simply remembering the present moment again and again and again, the mind builds up a habit. It builds up a a deep remembrance, a behavior of being here, of coming back again and again and again. And it starts to happen naturally, and it starts to happen consecutively. That the amount of time that you remember the present moment starts to build on itself. And if you sit for longer and longer each time, and of course, if you only have a couple minutes, if you have the 10 minutes to 20 minutes and that's it, that's fine. But just as someone who's meditated so much in their life, that I can say that, when I go into my deeper meditations, often I see that it takes me a good half hour, even 40 minutes. That's when things start really getting deeper. That when I start sitting a little bit longer, the mind really starts going layer by layer by layer, dropping down, dropping down, dropping down, collecting more in the present moment by letting go of the things that are not here in the present moment. That also eventually includes the meditation itself. Eventually, we have to be so deep in the present moment that we have to even let go of trying to meditate. Because trying to meditate, it's still creating a separation. It's still this action, this thing you want to be doing, this thing you want to be achieving or reaching, which is very different than right here. It's very different than the moment. So actually, we eventually need to let go of the meditation itself to really fully be present. We have to let go of trying to do anything. We have to let go of trying to get somewhere, to be something, to allow ourselves to really be fully present in this place. And that process of letting go, bringing ourselves further and further and further into this moment, that's really the practice, getting back to become that spider, to become that place in the middle, in the center. Yeah, that the present moment is not necessarily something that happens by doing something. The present moment is something that happens by letting go of everything else, by letting go of everything that is not the present moment, by letting go of all these different areas of our life that are pulling us, by letting go of our different thought patterns, by letting go of wanting to meditate, right? Which is still wanting to be somewhere else. It's a concept. It's thinking that there's something out there that we want. It's creating a separation. It's still creating a splintering of the mind. So even by letting go of the practice of meditation, letting go of everything except just the basic awareness, except the basic energy of just being here, the presence, right? We're sitting here, we're feeling the body, we're feeling the breath, we're feeling the space around us. Yeah, we're just feeling the awareness itself. That letting go of everything that's not right here is actually the way to arrive right here. And the way to let things go, again, it's not through force, it's not through judgment, it's not through pushing, it's not frustration, oh, I can't meditate, oh, this isn't working. It's really just through allowing, it's through being, because we are human beings. So that being is something that's already there, it's natural. You already are in a deep state of being when you just are, when you just stop. When you stop, you are already being, you're here, it's happening. So meditation, it's a form of stopping, it's a form of letting go. When you stop, you've arrived. Yeah, you haven't arrived when you get somewhere, you arrive when you stop. So the meditation today is going to be really more about that. It's noticing when the mind is getting fractured, it's going other places, and letting it go and allowing the mind to, again, just keep arriving here in a deeper and deeper and fuller way. Allowing that state of being to become freer, that state of being to become unhindered by all of the different fragmentations of thoughts and perceptions and behaviors. To allow that state of being just to really shine forth. And when the state of being shines forth, that's all that there is. There's being, and then there's no more me, not me, inside, outside. There's no more meditation. There's no more stuff going on. There just is this isness. There's just that state of being that you reside in. And it's peaceful, and it's blissful, and it's beautiful, and it's spacious, and it's a relief. It's a relief because our whole lives we live in such busy fracturedness. And to just reconnect to that state of being, of just dropping in and being present, it's such a deep relief. And that's what we're looking for. That's why we're practicing. So I'm going to lead us in the meditation right after this. And just remember, there's nothing to do but just to be. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.